This is episode 539. Okay, I've done the work. Now, where's my person? With Rachel. Welcome to Life Coaching with Christine Hassler, a space where truth and love come together to guide you back to your truest self. Hi, I'm Christine, a master coach, author, and spiritual psychologist. For over 20 years, I've supported people through the deep work of letting go, waking up, and coming home to who they truly are. Each week, you'll hear an unedited, unscripted coaching session with someone moving through a challenge or block in their life. These are tender and powerful conversations where deep healing happens in real time. Even though I'm coaching someone else, you will hear yourself in their story. This is a place where you will feel seen and supported and walk away with insight, emotional relief, and tools you can apply in your own life. Let's dive into today's session. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. This one is going to be especially good for those of you who are not partnered, who are single, and who really want to call in your person. And if your experience has been anything like mine, that has not been the easiest thing to do. I think a lot of us that are on the growth and healing and consciousness path often have some trouble, or we could call it a delay, in calling in our person. And what I'm going to offer you today is that that's probably because in this lifetime, you refuse to settle. You refuse to continue to perpetuate generational patterns and trauma. You refuse to get into a relationship that's just bleh. And at the same time, when everyone out there, it seems, is partnered up and you're single, it can be very challenging. There's a lot that Rachel and I cover in this episode. It was a bit longer, and I encourage you to stick it out because we really get to a beautiful place by the end of the show. And I hope, Rachel, you are still really trusting that embodied wisdom that you tapped into as we were talking. For those of you that really personally relate to this, you are a woman who is single and is really wanting to call in sacred union, her conscious man, that relationship that can be healthy and intimate and fun and sexy and all the things. We are going to be teaching a live Be the Queen again this year. Steph and I haven't taught it live for over a year. This is my Calling Him In program. This is the program that I developed for myself after a lot of really crappy dating courses and dating advice. At 40 years old, I was like, all right, I'm going to figure this out and call in my person. And it worked. And it is now a course that we teach live. And we're going to be opening doors up again in October. If you want to get on the early interest list, head over to christinehassler.com/queen so we know you're interested. And so you're putting that message out to the universe. Seems like October is far away, but it's actually around the corner. Before we dive in, I encourage you to go back and listen to my episode on microdosing with Tiffany Hurd, who works with the company that I'm affiliated with, Golden Rule, and see if microdosing may be something that supports you in whatever phase or season of life that you're in. As I discussed in that interview, it has been something that has felt very supportive to me. And I affiliate with Golden Rule because I value their integrity and the hands-on the approach they take to helping any consumer or customer that comes their way. So if you're interested in learning more about that, head over to christinehassler.com/micro. Again, that's christinehassler.com/micro. And now on to my conversation with Rachel. Rachel, welcome to the show. What's your question?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Christine. Again, as I've said, just love your podcast. I loved doing Be the Queen, and I'm just really, really grateful to be here.
I'm grateful to have you. Thank you.
Thanks. So I think for me, the reason that I reached out is because, I have had, 3 long-term relationships, but one in particular that we ended our relationship about a year ago. And I left that relationship because it was pretty emotionally abusive in the end. And it was a very traumatizing experience for me. And I have been dating again for about a year, a little less than a year now, after I finished Be the Queen. And, have feel like I've really healed my relationship to dating in a lot of ways, I feel so grateful for. And I think I'm getting to a point where I am sort of just needing a second wind, to feel hopeful. I've been navigating this for a long time, and navigating the recent experience has been really tender.
Hmm.
And, just being, as I know you and many guests have spoke to, being in your late 30s and feeling behind, and, going to baby showers and weddings, and, being at the fifth, 10th, 11th wheel at various events,
Yeah.
and, just all of the things that come with being single that, and I really tried to embrace what it means to be single and embrace the parts of it that I love. But I am longing for that like long-term partnership. And,
Yeah.
I can feel myself getting either discouraged or just kind of like bogged down in the narrative of like, this is really hard. I just want to find that person. I know I have to be patient and can't rush. So yeah, I guess just guidance on like how to keep hope when you can't force it, and you do have to just trust that it'll happen when it's meant to happen.
Yeah, and it's even more nuanced than that, right? So, with this last relationship that was really hard for you, why do you think it needed to happen? What did you complete through that relationship?
It's a fair question, and I've thought about it a lot. I've been fortunate enough to do enough work to know that that relationship was like a very real, adult manifestation of the dynamics that I had to deal with in childhood.
Sure.
My ex was, again, just a reiteration of the exact same dynamics that I had with my mom when I was a child. And that, kind of, as you, to borrow your phrasing, my karmic curriculum, I needed to heal that part of me, that little girl that was looking for love in the exact same kind of dynamic and person that I couldn't get it from with my mom. I also needed to kind of unlearn and relearn a lot of really limiting beliefs
Mhm.
about love, about what love looks like and about what it means, and limiting belief about what I deserve and what I'm worthy of, and limiting beliefs on, oh, because I think before I would date from that place of, oh, he finally chose me,
Mhm.
and now I can feel, and this feels really good, but like inherently feel the, oh no, I'm doing the cheating now.
Mhm.
And so I think there was a lot that I needed to learn that I feel I've learned pretty, the hard way, but also that I probably still need to learn, because the work
Yeah.
never ends.
Well, and instead of calling it the hard way, I'd call it learning the integrated way, learning the embodied
Mm,
way, learning the
hmm.
experiential way, because oftentimes we need those experiences to integrate and to really embody the wisdom. And we talked in Be the Queen a lot about embodied wisdom, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it sounds to me like instead of like really trusting something specific, you're kind of putting your trust in trite sayings like it will happen. I need to just wait. Where I'd encourage you to put your trust instead is wow, I've done a lot of work. I've had a really hard integration opportunity that I'm out of. Like this contract is
Hmm.
complete. This dynamic I played out with my mom, this contract with this person is really complete. So I'm actually trusting that I'm in the energetic vibration that will bring in a healthy relationship. So that's more based on fact than hope.
Yeah. That's really, really helpful to hear. Thank you.
So, what
And,
brings up emotion for you in that?
I think that it feels really affirming to hear that, because I think, like a lot of people, I sort of fall into that trap of, oh, how much work do I still need to do? How far do I still have to go? Like,
Yeah.
look at where I am, I'm 37 and alone. And what does that mean? And all of these things, instead of really taking stock of, like you said, how far I have come,
Mhm.
and how much I can feel like in my body what you're saying, that like
Mm-hmm.
it is different now.
Mm-hmm.
I have completed that. Like that pattern is behind me.
Yeah. Yeah. You're 37 and you are unpartnered because you've done generational pattern breaking, which isn't a weekend workshop, and had
Yeah.
some really important integration opportunities that it's taken up until this time to have, so that
Yeah.
moving forward, you can have a healthy partnership.
Yeah.
So this is where we've got to zoom out of like single versus not single. That's very, for the amount of work that
Yeah.
you've done, that's a very 3D simplistic,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
not very elevated way to look at it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
the way Hollywood wants you to look at it, right? It's the way
Yeah.
we've been
Yeah.
conditioned. This is where your role as a heterosexual woman in this lifetime, what you're also doing is breaking out of collective programming of being chosen. So you've got your individual stuff that you're dealing with, and then you've got the programming that so many women have been navigating for thousands of years about being chosen. It would be so much better if fill in the blank,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you can kind of like see when you're being sort of brainwashed by programming, you're going to suffer more.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
you can actually see the truth of your soul, your karmic curriculum in this lifetime, and feel your longing, which is your psychic knowing of what's coming without your suffering, the more you're going to be actually in your truth.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like what's pulling you out is a lot of beliefs. Some of yours, some are yours, some you've kind of like taken in. I hear from you so many things that I've heard from thousands of women and that I was saying until I kind of snapped out of it, about what it's like to be a single woman in her late 30s, early 40s.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting because women in their late 30s, early 40s, that's when we really start to come into so much of our power, so much of our confidence, so much of
Yeah.
our dharma.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's almost like we're like distracted or thrown this kind of pot of suffering if we don't have a partner. And again, that has some to do with longing and some to do with conditioning. Like I
Yeah.
wonder, in an
Yeah.
alternate universe where there wasn't this thing about, save the date, have the engagement party, get married, go on your
Mm-hmm.
honeymoon, get pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
baby announcement, baby shower. Like if there wasn't that whole thing and marriage what didn't even exist, like how you'd actually be feeling, right?
Yeah.
So my intention in saying this is not to dissuade you from wanting partnership or to have you question your longing, because I believe it's there. But what it feels like you're longing for is more of that sacred union, more of
Yeah.
that growth partner, more of that
Mm-hmm.
person who can be a mirror and can help you grow, but isn't continuing to, poke at all your childhood issues,
Oh
right?
yeah. No, you nailed it.
Yeah. But in doing that, like to be that attraction point, it's not like you need to work on yourself more. It's more that kind of need to be the queen of your own mind
Mm.
and
Mm-hmm.
really notice when thoughts and beliefs pull you in a direction that A, probably isn't true,
Mm-hmm.
and B, are really disempowering.
Yeah. No, that's really helpful, Christine, because I think one of the things that I've felt has been the most beneficial about, the last year of my growth, but also of Be the Queen, was like the discernment piece,
Mm-hmm.
getting really granular and really specific about what is my intuition saying,
Yep.
about X, Y, and Z. And it's just so helpful for you to kind of give that reminder of like that also applies to your own internal landscape. and what you're allowing yourself to internalize or to have the awareness of, like, that's not true. To your point, like, that's the conditioning, that's the,
Exactly.
waters I'm swimming in, or however. Yeah.
Exactly. I saw something on Instagram a couple weeks ago, and it was some kind of an experiment or study. Maybe you saw it. And they had boys and girls, probably like 12 to 15, and they'd say, run like a girl. And they'd run with their arms flopping and kind of and like silly,
Yeah.
and then throw like a girl, and they'd flop their arms and not be able to throw. And then they brought like 5, 6, and 7-year-old girls on, and they'd say, run like a girl. And they'd run so fast. And they'd say, throw like a girl, and they'd throw the ball. And the whole point of this study was like somewhere around the tween age, there
Hmm.
starts to be a story about how girls run, throw, and like who knows what else. Right when
Hmm.
we start to come into puberty,
Hmm.
the disempowerment starts there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
In some ways, when you're allowing yourself to fall into this narrative of I'm this age, I'm the plus 11, whatever, you're throwing
Hmm.
like a girl,
Yeah.
metaphorically.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. And I appreciate that gentle mirror because, it's one of those things where, like, I kind of laugh at myself because, I would consider myself to be a feminist. And, like, I
Mhm.
bought my first house on my own
Mhm.
last year. And, I, like, for my work,
Wait, let me
educate
just
young
pause you for a
women.
second. Let me pause you because this is
Okay.
how subtle it is. A man
Mm,
would never say, I bought my first house on my own. He would just say, I
mm,
bought my first house.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. And I think but that's where it gets, like you're saying, it's so tricky because,
Yes.
like, that is still a huge feat in this day and age.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it shouldn't be, but, like, for any single person, but especially a single woman.
Yes.
But it's, to your point, it's like, well, where do I, like, pull that thread versus where am I, like you're saying, falling into that trap?
Yes. Okay. So I may help you. And since you've done Be the Queen and done all this work, I hope it's okay. I'm being a little more direct and pulling you
No,
kind of
please.
forward instead of continuing to
Mm,
dig, because I don't think you need to
mm,
really dig anymore.
mm,
Does that
mm.
feel accurate to you? I don't
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot of processing that needs to happen.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So if we really look at, you know, coming back to your own discernment about what's the truth, you know that you want a partner, correct?
Very much so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So when you find yourself going into any of those thoughts that create suffering, okay,
Hmm.
that's kind of, sometimes it's hard to go what's true, what's not true, because we live in a lot of gray in our
Hmm.
world. And sometimes it's hard
Yeah.
to know where a thought is coming from. But how you can use it is, how does this belief make me feel? Is it creating suffering for me?
Mhm.
Then most likely it's not true and not useful.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is very helpful because I can feel myself get especially triggered and activated when something in my life happens and I attach the narrative of, well, this is happening because they're partnered and I'm not, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And so it's helpful for you to present that for me as a way to catch myself when I am kind of causing my own suffering to a certain extent by
Yeah.
really, like, attaching to that narrative.
Yeah. And I understand because I went through this. It's not easy
Mhm.
to be single, really at any age if you want a partner, but
Mhm.
especially in that window you're in,
Mhm.
which was exactly my window as well,
Mhm.
when everything around is showing something else.
Yeah.
Like I get that. But what's so amazing from my perspective is that women like you aren't allowing kind of the social pressure to force you into relationships where you're settling.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that because it does feel, yeah, it's like I didn't go to hell and back to settle,
Right.
like that's not the only
Right.
reason, but
Right.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And when there's a lot of trauma and we don't have that really unconditional, secure attachment with a parent or parents, the longing for partnership is even stronger
Um,
because there
yeah,
was a
that's a good point.
developmental need that wasn't
Mhm.
met.
Mhm.
Right? So the inner work that I would encourage you to keep doing, which is more like maintenance than it is like working on yourself,
Mhm.
is that inner child work, connecting with little Rachel, making sure she knows she is so loved. She is so chosen. There's like nothing missing from her. She is completely enough and that you choose her fully, all parts of her,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so that need isn't creeping out into your attraction field.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's also a helpful reminder as well. And you and your work have really helped me connect with her and with my inner child in a way that I wasn't doing before. I, of course, did therapy to unpack it, but I didn't have that relationship to her,
Right.
you know. And I think it is so important, and it is so not just important, but empowering to your point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, because I can
Mm-hmm.
feel it. I can feel that integrative piece happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're picking from your present day adult woman self,
Yeah.
not from a wounded child place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you don't mind me asking, how do you feel like when those moments would come up where, you would go to the event and you'd be on your own or,
Mm-hmm.
you see a wedding announcement or whatever the case may be? Like, if you don't mind me asking, what did you do in those moments to kind of help pull yourself back into like, what belief is going to
Mm-hmm.
support me here?
Well, first, I'd be really patient and compassionate with my feelings.
Mm,
Of
mhm.
course, I'm triggered right now. This is something I
Yeah.
want. This is a normal, like human appropriate response that
Yeah.
part of me is happy for these people and part of me is not, not necessarily not happy for them, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's a mix of
Um,
emotions.
yes,
Yeah.
it's a mix of emotions. And then I'd really ask myself, do I want to go?
Mm, mhm.
I don't have to go to a wedding. I don't have to go to a baby
Mhm.
shower,
Mhm.
with really, really good friends where it was a situation where I remember one friend's wedding. I was the officiant of the wedding
Oh,
and the
wow.
only single person there.
Oh my
So like
goodness.
it was a double, double whammy. Um,
Yeah.
but there's a couple things I'd remind myself of. Number one, I'm really the only one that's self-conscious about this. No one else really even cares. Number two, just because all these people are partnered up in a relationship doesn't necessarily mean they're any happier than I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And number three is I'd use it as a reference point and internally go, this situation is going to make me even more grateful for the first time I go to a wedding with my partner.
Aw. Yeah. That's
And I
really beautiful.
remember, yeah, the first wedding Steph and I attended together, I was actually pregnant.
Oh, wow. With Athena?
And yep.
Wow.
And I got to have that full circle moment.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah, that's
So
beautiful.
we have to do, and you have to find your way, right? You have to find
Mhm.
whatever helps you stay connected to your longing without suffering,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Um,
that's the place you want to call him in from.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Do you mind if I ask? I think, and I don't know though, I know we only have a certain amount of time when we may not have time to unpack all of this, but I guess just like I'm still wondering if part of, like, if me still needing to heal from my emotionally abusive ex is like influencing more than me than I realize. I've worked really hard to release a lot of that and to process a lot of that. But sometimes I wonder if that's contributing to the suffering in a way. Like, I guess my question is like, how do I know how much attention to give that versus like just keep catching myself in the moments where I'm falling into that story and just say like, that's not, all people are different people. That's in the past. Like, it's time to let that go.
Do you fear getting in that relationship again?
That's a good question. I mean, a little bit, only because I think there's the conscious part of me says no, but basically what ended up happening was that I'm like 95% sure they have undiagnosed narcissistic personality disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And the first year and a half was so good and so beautiful. And then it was like a literal Jekyll and Hyde situation, Christine. I mean, he became like unrecognizable to me
Mm-hmm.
and, did things that I never dreamed he would be capable of doing. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the part where the fear is still there, is like, how do I trust that the person that's presenting themselves to me is that person
Mm-hmm.
when I considered myself to be like a pretty good judge of character, and this still happened.
So there were no red flags in the first year or even
Oh, there
yellow
were.
flags.
There
Oh,
were.
there you
Yeah.
go. So there you go.
Yeah.
But you kept going because there was a similar connection to your childhood. So on some level it felt familiar, and this is what this is what our psyche does, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is where trusting the embodied wisdom is so important. It's so important to be like,
Yeah.
it's sort of if you touched a hot stove, it would burn really bad and then you wouldn't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important because sometimes what we tell ourselves and what's true are two different things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a few minutes ago, you were telling me it was great. And then all these things happen. And then when I asked, were there any yellow flags? You said yes. So it was there.
Mm-hmm.
You just needed to ignore it so that you could have the integrative opportunity to heal this mother wound,
Mm-hmm.
right? And family of origin wound.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you in terms of what is left to process is, have you really forgiven yourself?
It's a fair question. I thought I had. It feels like I have,
Great,
you know.
great,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. I think that protector part is still just maybe I don't know if misguided is the right way to put it, but like, to your point, just needs that reminder of like, no, like you said, trust your embodied wisdom, trust your
Mhm.
knowing. You won't make the same mistake twice.
Well, and sometimes protector parts need a plan. So maybe
Mm,
if you haven't done this, write out all the yellow flags that you saw,
mm. Okay, that's
make it a
helpful.
checklist.
Yeah.
And so anyone you're dating, you can refer back to
Mm,
this checklist and go, oh, no.
yeah. Yeah.
I think the more we really learn from an experience, capture the learnings, because sometimes we're so
Hmm.
focused on the healings, we forget about the learnings. Like, really, really capture the learnings. So you can be like, nope, I won't do that again. That's a no. Have your
Hmm.
list. So that
Hmm.
protector part feels like, oh, wait, she's got a safety net here, or whatever we want to call it. Like she's got a process around that.
Hmm.
Because sometimes we
Yeah.
need to appeal to those protector parts
Mhm.
because they have an important job.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is very helpful because I think, obviously I've been doing that in as many ways as I can think of in the moment when I'm, out on a date and I'm observing and that, so on and so forth. But I think to help me continue that integration process. And like you said,
Mm-hmm.
really feel a little more peace of mind of like, you really dug as deep as you can for this window
Yeah.
of time to
Yeah.
pull out anything you need.
Yeah. And what I want to emphasize for you and for anyone listening to. So we likely attract family of origin type people until we really truly heal it. We do that inner child work. We declare like I'm done. This is complete. I'm done with this pattern. It's really important to not look through that lens at men anymore because it's
Mhm.
easy to think every man is going to be like that. It's
Mhm.
easy for a part of you to
Mhm.
fear that with anyone
Yeah.
because it happened with this one person. But it
Yeah.
happened with this one person because it happened at home, not because he represents all men
Yeah.
and not because that's
Yeah.
what dating relationships are like.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think I've gotten better about that as well. But it's again a helpful reminder because yeah, in this day and age, not to get all into a whole other can of worms, but like I think, you know, righteous female anger against a lot of those who are male identifying is valid, and all that's not all men.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
It's not.
There's a lot of really good, really beautiful, kind, compassionate men who are doing the work.
There are.
Hmm.
There absolutely are. There's
Yeah.
absolutely are. And you just need one.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many times did you
Yeah.
have the chicken pox growing up?
Just the one.
Just the once.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
So, a good way to bring some levity to this
Hmm.
might be to think of him like the chicken pox.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
done, complete.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, all of it's helpful, but I think that is especially helpful in the
Mhm.
moments where I can feel my like anxiety creeping in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is traumatizing to go through an abusive relationship, right? But we don't want to continue, you know, perpetuating that abusive
Yeah.
dynamic by being
Yeah.
fearful of anyone that could come in.
Yeah, exactly. It's really important to me not to project that onto like
Mhm.
myself or, people in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. This is
Yeah.
where discernment is way more helpful than fear.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where the
And
inner child part comes in. Because if the inner child is running the show,
hmm.
you're going to be in
Yeah.
more primitive responses.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something else that's been so helpful with your work, Christine, is that idea of the like, I trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because for so long, God, I was so indecisive. I would second guess myself all the time. And it's only within the last, I would say, 2 years, even that like that response of like, I do trust myself, like, it just comes naturally to me,
Mm-hmm.
which is such a relief, you
That's
know?
huge.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. Mhm. I feel really grateful for it.
So, whenever you go into that place where you start to lose hope or get sad or
Mhm.
get whatever, discouraged, I want you to tap into that part that you were just so connected to.
And that's it. I mean, all of it's there. It's just letting it be more at the forefront instead of
Mm-hmm.
having it fall to the background
Mm-hmm.
in the moments that are hard.
That's the
Yeah.
embodiment work.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's the work. The continued, you know,
Yeah.
that's evolution,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? So
And
there's the
that's the
things
integration.
that's the integration, right? There's the
Yeah.
things that we do that are acute, coming out of
Hmm.
an abusive relationship, getting the somatic therapy, processing the trauma, moving it through
Hmm.
your emotional field. Like all of that is really important. That's the acute work. The
Hmm.
ongoing work is the process of evolution, is the
Hmm.
integration, is the embodiment. That doesn't stop unless you
Yeah.
just want to, you know, unawaken.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's helpful, a helpful reminder too. And because I think sometimes, you know, I just naturally say like the work is the therapy, the journaling, the,
Mhm.
retreats, da, da, da. But and then that's there's something very liberating in that because it's like, well, I don't always have to be doing quote unquote the work. Like
Right.
as long as I'm, you know, having that awareness of integrating it in those moments, that's enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
just like with our health. Sometimes we get really
Hmm.
sick and we need to take some medication or go to the ER, go to the doctor, whatever it is.
Hmm.
And then the rest of the time, we're just keeping our immune system in the best shape we can, getting our sunshine, taking our supplements, eating healthy,
Hmm.
but we never stop taking care of our
Stop.
health.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
Same thing with our consciousness. So you've
Oh.
done the acute, you've really been so thorough. Now it's, you're getting used to a new consciousness, a new way of being.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
your mind will kind of try to reach back for a familiar set point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whenever you're in suffering, hopeless, helpless, discouraging thoughts, just know that's what's happening. You're
Yeah.
trying to find a familiar place.
Mm,
And you're like, no,
that's
this is
helpful.
this is
Yeah.
where we're going now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that actually is so serendipitous to hear, and like I think is going to be a really just easy mantra to pull from in the moment, because I can feel that happening in like the context of dating, where I'm like, oh, he seems like a really good guy, and there's a lot there, but I'm just not, my intuition says it's not a fit. I can feel that old part of me being like, oh, don't let a good one go, like.
Mhm.
And then I can feel that, more integrated part being like, that's the old part,
Mhm.
So it's really helpful to apply that same thinking to my own, again, like internal landscape.
Yes. You've
Yeah.
totally got this.
Thanks, Christine.
Yeah, you're right where
Yeah.
you need to be.
Yeah.
There's
And
nothing
I feel
wrong.
that.
There's no delay. There's plenty of time.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you so much. There was so much here that was so helpful. And yeah, it kind of feels like I was trying to tackle these pieces, here and there. And this feels so nice to have it kind of come together in this
Mm.
call, this conversation with you of like, oh, again, like the integration, like, oh,
Mhm.
this is all, yeah, been there
Mhm.
and just needed to crystallize it.
Yeah, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. So, thank you, Rachel, for giving voice to something that I have a feeling thousands of women listening to are going to relate to. And I also want to say, if you're not a single woman and you're in a relationship, that you feel has reached an expiration date, that is not meeting your needs, that you're questioning, Be the Queen is also open to you. We have a lot of people that come into that program that get clarity on a current relationship. But just know that I think a lot of times women know a relationship is complete before they leave. And if you know that a relationship is complete, that you have grown, maybe your partner isn't willing or able to grow, I just encourage you not to stay beyond the expiration date. And I understand finances, kids, pets, all those things can make things very, very tricky. But what I have found is when we honor our truth in the best, most aligned way that we can, usually support shows up. And sometimes it's chaotic for a bit until we find our new footing. But life's too short to waste time in the wrong relationships. And if you were single and calling him in, I hope this episode was reassuring to you. I hope it gave you some direction in terms of what to focus on and what to focus away from. I see so many women suffer needlessly because they get sucked into this narrative about their age and about everyone else coupling up and about whatever it may be. And it can really mess with our heads, and therefore mess with our emotions. And so having that discernment, having that clarity, having our longing be something that's comforting versus painful, right? Because if you're really excited about a vacation that's coming, you're not suffering over it. You know the vacation is coming. You wish that maybe it could come a little sooner, but it's not causing you like a great deal of pain. And oftentimes with wanting a partner, the longing is a psychic knowing it's coming, but we don't know exactly when, right? It could be days, it could be years. And that in-between place can be really, really, really hard. But the degree of which it's hard is completely dependent on how we relate to it. And so if we can relate to it, not with so much suffering, not with so much, I'm doing something wrong, there's something wrong with me, there's something I need to work on, because oftentimes there is work to do. There is work to do. And then there comes a point where, okay, we've processed a lot. I talk about this a lot. Like I processed a lot. I was really, really ready. And it was like another year before I met Steph because he had to get ready on his end. I didn't know that because I didn't know who he was. But as we compared timelines, I was like, oh, wait, you were not ready in 2017 when I was really ready. So life is a mystery. It's such a mystery. And being in a partnership is not a guarantee for happiness. It's not the be all and end all of your life. And so again, if you do relate to that pressure Rachel's putting on herself and the time urgency and the life would be so much better if, and I'm going to all these things alone, really start to tease out, is it reality that's creating your suffering? Or is it some of the beliefs you're falling into? And we have a lot more control over our inner state than sometimes we believe. Sometimes it's almost convenient to let a narrative take us into a suffering paradigm that's unnecessary. And part of being a queen or a king, part of being a sovereign being, is not allowing yourself to be pulled into a narrative from your past that's familiar, a narrative from outside sources that create suffering, and really come back to your own truth, because your own truth is something that you can always trust. All right, everybody, that's our show for today. Sending you so much love and many blessings. Until next time. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Life Coaching. I hope something you heard today resonated with you and helped you to see yourself with more clarity and compassion. Remember, every shift, no matter how small you think it is part of your healing. If this episode supported you, please consider sharing it with a friend or leaving a review. It means the world to me. If you'd like to connect with me, come say hi on Instagram at Christine Hassler. And if you feel called to be coached live on the show, you can apply at christinehassler.com/waitlist. For courses, retreats, and more resources to support your journey, visit christinehassler.com. You're not alone in this journey, and I'm grateful to walk it with you. Until next time.